Hello, everyone, and welcome to the statewide Census Push Week kickoff. Advocates for Children of New Jersey is proud to be a part of the Census 2020 New Jersey Nonprofit Coalition alongside other groups like New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. And we are fortunate to be collaborating with the United States Census Bureau, the New Jersey Department of State, and others to help ensure an accurate count for the Garden State. Feel free to follow us on social media at ACNJ for Kids for additional census tool and resources, or visit census2020nj.org. Before we begin, I wanted to review some logistical items. At the end of today's webinar, you will have the opportunity to ask questions of our panelists. Please make sure to use the Q&A function located at the bottom of your screens. The chat function may be used to talk with each other and network. I will also be posting helpful links to tools and resources for your use in your census outreach. If you need technical help, use the raise hand function, and I will privately message you. Finally, this webinar will be recorded and all materials sent out via email at a later date. And now, without further ado, please welcome Barbara Brown, Senior Partnership Specialist at the U.S. Census Bureau.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here and to introduce to you our panelists today. We are excited about the census, as you are, and just to give a quick count, we are 21 days away from August 11 and 102 days, depending on whether you count that last day, until the very end of the census, October 31st. So time is of the essence, and this call, we hope will help energize and you're already energized, but help activate and provide that extra little bits of information that can help make our 2020 census count a huge success. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you, I'll first name the people on the panel, which is Lisa Moore, Assistant Regional Census Manager for the U.S. Census Bureau. She's going to speak first. Then we will have Eric Kipnis, who's the Manager of Constituent Relations for the New Jersey Department of State, and Patricia Williamson, New Jersey Counts Project Director for New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Actually, Eric will go last. So I am delighted. Our objective here is just to let you know that we appreciate your cornerstone efforts to help get out the count through your trusted voices. And I hope that you find this information helpful and inspiring. So with that, I'm going to introduce Lisa Moore from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Good morning, everyone. I guess it's still morning. I had to check the clock before I started. I'm going to go over some few highlights of the 2020 census and what we're really here for to gear up for Push Week. The Push Week is our final big push before the door knocking campaign begins. So we're excited to be discussing some upcoming changes in the schedule, just to repeat that. So if we could just take it one slide prior, sorry about that. And we'll go over the adjustments to the schedule. So self-response phase. So when can we actually begin communicating about the 2020 census? It started in March 12th, and we are going to go until October 31st, as Barbara mentioned. Leading up to that, though, the door knocking phase, the date in which we really want to get out the count prior to, is really August 11th. So we want everyone to self-respond and participate in this big push week, a big rally to drum up response rates for the state of New Jersey, especially your own communities, your neighboring communities, so that both resources and funding come back to our state, our communities, and then also our voice in Congress resonates stronger and louder within the state with our political representation. So with that, we'll talk about the encouraging response. So we have fact sheets at this point in time as to what can you do to complete and help complete the 2020 census amongst the community that you serve. So being visible anywhere and everywhere. If we can hang up posters, if we can share out information in newsletters, if we can just actually ask the person next to us, whether we're on the bus, whether we're in line at the grocery store, and socially distance approved, but have that conversation about the 2020 census. It's so important because some of those that are closest to us actually haven't completed the census to date. So we want to do everything in our power to drum up response rates prior to this August 11th date, when we start canvassing communities that have not self-responded either online, over the phone, or by mail. We will then do in-person follow-up.
Lisa, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I was swiping, I couldn't see the slide. So we're holding, we're working with partners. The partners are really leading this effort in drumming up response rates. The great ideas that resonate from within are really profound. And we want to partner with you to host as many of these events next week and the following week leading up to this August 11th date. There's car parades happening, caravans happening, some telephone, phone banking occurring. We're at food pantry pickup lines. I just got a request yesterday from another New Jersey partner asking for more materials to provide in their food distribution and their restaurant delivery. So any which way we can share the census message, we're really gearing up and trying to blanket the state for Push Week. So the next slide, we'll go over a resource that we have, which is our mobile questionnaire assistance program. So it looks like the slides, Catherine, if you can, yep, there we go, perfect. So this opportunity and this program that we have launched, we launched a soft launch July 6th in this county of Essex, but we are actually now throughout the entire state of New Jersey. Anywhere a partner would like us to be, we are present with census response representatives who will have this iPad and actually do enumeration on the spot. So we're at locations like food pantry services, we'll be at healthcare resource centers, so anywhere where people might be receiving information or PPE, we will be present, providing the partner would like that, to actually do enumeration on the spot with our census reps. They're bilingual in staff. Many of our staff is bilingual, who can help speak to the community and engage and try to increase response rates. We've noticed these to be extremely successful. I think last week I was briefed on several events that happened in the city of Newark, and they happened to have 80 responses in that particular event within like a 3 to 4 hour window of completing the census. So we know we're at the point now, it's going to be hard to move that needle, to move that response rate, but we're at the point where we need to try to do as much as possible in-person conversations and engagements, understanding, adhering to all social distancing, but we know we're at this point now where the boots on the ground, the local effort, the get out the count is really effective, and we're seeing that every single day, which is really exciting. And then there's two big upcoming events on the next slide. We will see our faith-based weekend of action. And this is where we're charging every faith leader, that trusted voice in the community who have provided such consistent messaging over the several months where we were all self-quarantined or quarantined or at home, but that trusted voice who we rely on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, we're asking them to share the census message, because we know their message will go a lot farther than it will coming from a federal agency. I'm not a federal agent per se, but the faith-based weekend of action is really exciting for us. We were asking any faith leader to share a census message before services, after services, maybe during a sermon, and also if they would like, we can have census representatives. If they're participating in person for services in person, we can have census staff there. We can have materials present as well as do enumeration through the congregation that's present at their worship this particular weekend, and any weekend, not just this weekend, but we're trying to drum up as much as possible, getting those faith-based weekend of action engaged. And then leading into the next slide, we have our push week slide. And this is really what we're gearing up for next week. And I'm going to go over some of the highlights. But of course, you know, there's a lot of highlights coming from the state of New Jersey and the efforts that are going on. And I know will be talked about. But our goal for push week, what is push week? What is the goal? We were trying to replicate that April 1st Census Day, where we receive a big bump in response rate because everyone knows, or most of the community knows they received their invitation and they know they need to complete it. Census Days, April 1st, comes around once every 10 years. So we're trying to drum that up, but we're giving it an entire week because we know it's a lot more challenging now. April 1st was 3 weeks after we received that invitation, or 2 weeks or so after we received that invitation. So we're going to get the biggest uptick then. We understand that, but we're trying to replicate it in different ways throughout our region and the state of New Jersey to increase response rates in areas that are hard to count, maybe not responding, has distrust in government. We understand that. We want to provide as many resources as possible. With this push week, we are expanding our media campaign to 45 languages, and we will be on print, radio, TV. You should notice more next week. I got a list already from our contractors for the media side of it, but we should be blanketing media coverage, print, radio, TV, social media. That's a great ask for partners to post something during this push week to kind of drum up response rates. I follow all the other parts of the country and our own, so I'm always liking or resharing some great ideas for that. A great idea that just was released this past weekend, which I was so impressed with, within New York City area, was fortune cookies. They had the fortune cookies actually opening up your fortune and completing the 2020 census. Get counted today was their fortune. So just pretty cool different ideas that partners are implementing, which is awesome. So there's an integrated paid media campaign, and then there's also going to be an earned media campaign where we will have over 40 to 50 interviews on TV and radio within a very finite window to try to get that coverage at every part of our state and in our region as a whole. So there's earned media component, and then of course the digital component that will be happening. But we really know it's the point of the trusted voices. It's our team here on the call, and also everyone who you know within the community to speak the message and actually convey it as the what's in it for me. Finding the what's in it for me is really going to be very local. Understanding that services for this particular community is potentially not going to be funded properly because of not having an accurate count. So making certain that the local message is really clear there. Our region, our entire region for that we support, the push week will be from July 27th through August 2nd. We will be announcing tomorrow to our media partners and all of our partners a little competition. So we want to see how each county does, how each city does within counties, and compare across the state the successes of Push Week. So we're trying to create a friendly competition, but we are going to be pushing that out tomorrow, no pun intended, or exactly pun intended. And then we're just excited about that. But I also wanted to tie into, just so we're all clear on non-response follow-up, on our next slide, we'll go over what is that and what are we not necessarily trying to avoid, but we want that self-response rate. We want you all and our state to get the credit for self-responding to the 2020 census. It's the most accurate data possible, but understanding that that's not going to happen across the board. We are prepared and hiring hundreds of thousands of census takers to walk the streets within the state of New Jersey to ensure that every single person is counted. And for majority of our state, that will occur as late as August 11th. In some areas, it is starting earlier, but as late as August 11th is when we will start door knocking throughout the community for anyone who has not completed the census online, over the phone, or by mail. Census takers, as you can see here, will wear face masks and adhere to all state and local guidance. So we just want to make sure everyone knows the reason for us being there, and that if you hear from a family or friend or another fellow coworker that it is the Census Bureau, we will have census IDs. and to complete the census today. It is really important, and we're excited about this push week, but wanted to also just tie into what is non-response follow-up? What is that door knocker census taker position that many of us have heard about? So that is it for me, and I have my contact information here. And again, a major thank you to ACNJ. They are phenomenal at sharing out the census message, and it's extremely helpful to have such strong, trusted partners to share this message, because that's going to make the difference in the 2020 census. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. That was phenomenal. And I think everyone gets a great idea of how much is happening. And obviously we want to build upon the momentum and keep that excitement going, because we are in the final push, and push week is upon us. It's now my pleasure to introduce Patricia Williamson from the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Patricia, it's all yours.
Good morning. I am, okay. So I don't need to share my own screen, Catherine?
You should have the ability to share your own screen. If not, let me know and I'll be happy to share.
Okay, I've got it. Thank you, everybody. That's the one thing I couldn't do beforehand. That should be sharing right about now. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Good morning. My name, again, is Patricia Williamson. I'm the New Jersey CONT Project Director for the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, and I am representing the Census 2020 New Jersey Coalition today. I would like to talk to you just for a few minutes about meeting people where they are. We're so excited about what we're about to do with the Census Push Week next week, and there's a few things that we can talk about in terms of what we can provide for you, or what perhaps you can even provide for each other. Wanted to show you a few things in terms of resources. There's the coalition can provide either on our own or through partners. We have materials. You know, we have a lot of flyers. I didn't put any here, but you know that we have flyers about the census, palm cards that are in different languages. The trilingual flyer is particularly popular, especially with the phone numbers that are available so that someone can call the census in language. That's something that's not done as often, and we don't list that as much, so we just want to mention that, especially for people that are not online or perhaps do not have their paper forms, that they can complete that right on their phone. Masks, magnets, and more. So if you look at these pictures, I want to focus on Plainfield for a few minutes. For a few seconds. We have a group called Soma Sewing Volunteers, and they're part of the South Orange Maplewood group, the action group that has created a sewing group. And through the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, we were able to donate 500 homemade masks to Plainfield to use for their upcoming activities. And that is something that you can do as well. I'm not sure about next week, because but we can talk about it, because we still, they need time, of course, to make them. But the idea is to at least get the ideas started so that you can continue with what you would like to do in your cities. In terms of the magnets, you'll see my friend is posing next to her car. The magnet is one that says, "Be counted in the 2020 census. Your community needs you." That is another idea that you can use if you're driving around and you park your car. It's one of those passive ways that you can look at the census, think about the census that week, and we'll make sure that there's something that, you know, will just continually remind people. Some other resources, we have T-shirts. There's some people that are on the call, or some organizations, I should say, that have lawn signs. There's lots of posters. Of course, we partner with the Census Bureau in terms of their materials any water bottles or things of that nature, things that you can give away. In terms of some push week ideas, there's car caravans. You could take the car that my friend was next to and ride up and down different city streets. You have to get, you should get some permits and some permission, but those are very good, especially in this time of the pandemic. Civic engagement cookouts, I'll show you a picture coming up soon. And friendly city competitions, I noticed that there was a competition between South Orange and Maplewood, and the winner would get a chance to go to dinner at the non-winner's expense. So there's ideas like that that can get people really moving. That sometimes competition is really the way to make things move. While we have a window of opportunity, just encouraging you to go outside, socially distance, and make sure you're following the guidelines, but engage people. The people that have not taken the census yet, the majority of them, it's not because they forgot. It's mostly because they may have a fear or distrust of the government, or there's something that's keeping them from taking the census. And so that's when you really have to stand with a person and have that conversation and debunk any myths that are out there that they may be concerned about, and just help them to understand how important they are and how important it matters for them to be counted. This is an example of advocacy in action. This is a voter registration cookout that occurred last week, and this was in Camden. And the picture on the right is a person who was who is a formerly incarcerated resident of New Jersey who is taking the census on one of the laptops that's there. And so what we want to also do is make sure that, and this was also voter registration, so we're looking at civic engagement. Now that we're at this time of the year, there's times where you're going to have to combine your voter registration efforts with your census efforts, and that's okay, but just realize the census has more people. You want to make sure you count the children and the non-documented people. Another example that's not here, but I wanted to mention it in terms of meeting people where they are. Another group in our New Jersey coalition is Wind of the Spirit, and they went door to door in a city, and that has a lot of indigenous languages to Mexico. So they speak Spanish just enough to manage getting around, but their real language is an indigenous language, perhaps, that's in the country of Mexico. So first thing they did, the Wind of the Spirit team, they prepared themselves with PPE, and they went door to door. They gave every household mask first, and then they found out through Spanish what their indigenous language was. And then they had one of 8 videos that spoke in language to them about what the census was. And once the households understood it, more often than not, they were willing to take the census and they were able to be counted. That's the level of detail that some people need at this point. And they also felt safer because they didn't have masks. And so another thing that's helpful is when you're giving something that's practical, people can start understanding and start trusting the process. In terms of helpful links, the Census Push Week site is here, and you'll receive that as part of your messaging in the chat box. And if you have events that you are planning to do during this week of action, please register at the second bullet, where we're pulling everything together with the New Jersey Coalition, and so we can advertise them at a later date. So that is everything. I thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the different activities we're going to be doing next week.
Thank you, Patricia. That was inspiring. I feel totally energized and in awe that people were doing all of these in-language outreach That's exactly the kind of on the ground activity that really touches people's hearts and makes them feel welcome and open to completing the census. It helps bring down those barriers and addresses those challenges. So for the final speaker today, I introduce to you Eric Kipnis from the New Jersey Department of State. Thank you, Eric.
I should be on. I'm on. Aha. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this Push Week kickoff kind of rally webinar. And most of all, thank you for everything that you have been doing to ensure and work toward a complete count in New Jersey. We all know how important that is. I'm going to bring up my slide presentation. Give me a sec. And let's see if I can share it properly first. I know that I can. I just have to get the slides going. Okay. And here we go. Okay. So first things first, take a look at that picture. That's what was supposed to happen on April 1st. That was actually a picture from April 1st, 2019, 1 year out. But obviously things have changed. And we're going to do this New Jersey COVID style this time as we move into Push Week and try and get as many people as possible to fill out their census forms. It's absolutely critical. I think everybody has mentioned how critical it is. We know that. So what I want to do today is just touch on some general points. I'm going to try not to repeat some of the information that's already been given. It's been great information. And talk about the kind of resources that the state is putting into play, and also the kind of resources that we're going to send out to you, because we're going to kind of synthesize everything and get some information, get some of this information out to you by tomorrow morning, I think, is the plan. Certainly no later than that. So let's talk a little bit about Push Week. Okay. What's Push Week about, really, from an organizing point of view? Because you're all out there organizing activities, and you all know by now that organizing is very close to my heart, those of you who've heard me present before. And in organizing, you get what you ask for and not what you don't. And we're going to be doing a lot of asking, a lot of asking over the coming week. What is it that we're going to ask for? Because as I've said before, organizing is always about asking. Running activities where you want people to do something is always about asking. So what are we going to be asking people to do? We're going to be asking people to fill it out now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but now, today. We are at a point in the census, in our census activities, where there is really a fierce urgency. Not just because of August 11th, but because there's such a need to get the data right so that we can get our fair share in New Jersey. The urgency of now is that we want to leverage this Push Week against the upcoming enumeration. Patricia mentioned earlier, a lot of times people are concerned about filling out their census forms, and we'll have to work on that. Some people are also concerned that they don't want to get people knocking on their doors. Okay, one way to alleviate that issue is to fill out your census. No one will knock your door if you come in, if you fill it out online, or if you fill it out by phone. So that's the goal. That's the ask. It's going to be continual, not just for Push Week, but beyond. This is really the beginning. This is really the beginning of the stretch run of the census. Just like April 1st was of the census self-response period. Just like April 1st was not ever going to be the end point of collecting census data. So is the case for Push Week. This is the beginning. I'm gonna take some time to go through some of the activities, but let me tell you, highlight some of the activities that we think have been very, very useful, both from both in-person activities and virtual activities. But also, let me tell you this: the state will be continuing to do its push over social media. You'll hear radio spots, and there will be the ever popular Census billboard trucks traveling throughout the state, particularly in hard to count areas, but certainly in all our other counties as well, because the focus, of course, is in our hard to count areas. That's where the biggest urgency is. We have some gaps to close because we were really hit by COVID, and we knew going in that success in self-response in hard to count areas, hard to count towns and cities was going to come with face-to-face activities, in-person activities. We have an opportunity to do that. We don't know how long of an opportunity we have because the virus doesn't tell us that, unfortunately. So again, that's another reason for this urgency to get it done while we can. But the state will be out there with billboard trucks, and we'll be having a social media theme week next week, which, surprise, surprise, is going to be Push Week. This week, of course, we're running a social media campaign for faith communities in New Jersey, and we want to remind everybody that this weekend, of course, as it was mentioned before, is a huge faith communities weekend in New Jersey, and we're trying to put together as many MQAs as possible, and asking people to contact their congregations who are doing organizing to make them aware of Faith Weekend, and get people to fill it out. So, in-person activities. We've talked about the need to get census kiosks operational. Most of our census kiosks in person are going to be mobile pop-up kiosks, and this is in addition to MQAs. Our partners, our grant partners on the ground are working on that. And so are the local municipalities, and the county teams are also working on that. We've all talked about, and you can see where the ideal locations are. Some of the best locations to do this, and Patricia highlighted it, is to meet people where they are. So food distribution locations. If you're comfortable, certainly COVID testing locations, at least away from the testing spot, but in conjunction with that location. Car caravans. You'll hear a little bit about Essex County in a little bit. I didn't mean to steal Asmred's thunder, but you'll hear some things about that. Tables at outdoor community events. There's some voter registration events that are starting to take place. Pair it up with a census event. Certainly distribute flyers about your events where you're going to be asking people to fill it out specifically, not just informational flyers. We're happy to continue to educate folks about the census, but what we really want to focus them in on is filling it out now. I think we've mentioned in the past that barbershops and hair salons, now that they're back in operation, are really a good place to ask people to fill it out. And by the way, you can ask them to fill it out on their phone. You don't need a PC with you or a laptop or a tablet to do this. People will fill it out on their phone if you ask them to do that, and it's a great way to social distance. Virtual activities. Virtual kiosks are still in play. Ideas like a virtual census block party. I've seen folks run those. Another version of the MQAs is a voice MQA. What is a voice MQA? If you compile a list, and this is again for folks, we don't expect everybody's going to be able to or want to go out in person. We understand that there's a balancing act going on, and that is very much respected. But there are other things to do, and a voice MQA is one of them. So for Faith Weekend, a lot of services are still virtual. A lot of services some services are virtual and in person. So it's easy enough to ask folks if they need help with the census. And if you compile a list, the Census Bureau will work with you and we will connect you through your partnership specialist to create a voice MQA, which is a date and time certain that a enumerator, a census enumerator will call a person and take them through filling out the census. So think about that as something that you can add into the mix, not just next week, but going down the line. Friends and family phone outreach. A lot of you have seen that. It's up on our website at census.nj.gov. There's instructions on what to do. It's basically a big phone tree phone outreach program. And some folks are thinking about doing it via text. So that information is out there. Push Week Challenge, you've already heard about. So I'm not going to go back over that. And please don't forget everybody, put out social media posts, share your information, and please celebrate your success. We want this to, the more we repeat success, the more success you have. This is the time for you to use your teams, your local complete count committees, and your organized trusted messengers. This is what they were built for. This is the time to put them into play. Don't do things all by yourself. Try not to anyway, if you can. You get a lot more done operating with others, helping and in teams. And this is a time to continue to collaborate. People who heard me, we were on the seminar last week, heard me say the same thing. Work with your nonprofit partners, local complete count committees. They ought to be working together, both at the municipal and county level, to leverage your resources. Work with your census partnership specialists. Also with our team. You've gotten to know our census support specialists, and our grant administrators are now in the field as well. We are all hands on deck for filling it out now. And then, of course, the great support staff at the Census 2020 NJ Coalition, and folks like Patricia and the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice are there to help as well. Use us. That's what we're here for. Resource information, I'm not going to go through this in detail. There's too much of it. We're going to send you out a list with links by tomorrow with all this information. If you want to highlight anything, there's a new doc for kiosk tech hygiene, a tech hygiene guide. People ask for it. It's up there. It's up on our website. We'll give you the link to it. Again, at censusnj.gov. An event organizing 101 guide for those of you who need to revisit that. The Census Bureau's media toolkit, which has information about social media techniques and tactics, and then the Census 2020 Coalition, the Push Week activity sign-up link. I really want to heavily emphasize that. We're going to give you that link. Some of you already have it. If you have an activity, please, if you can and you're comfortable with it, tell us about it so that we can help publicize it, and we can also track capacity and try to connect people where we think it'll do some good. So please use that link and sign up. And please let us know, even if you don't want it to be public, what you're doing, so that we understand the capacity and we understand what to do to enhance the effort. And then last week's organizing refresher video for Push Week is up there as well. Again, you'll get an email with all of this information. So just to recap, there's lots to do. And I'm gonna be straight up, a lot of us are tired, okay? We know that, I'm tired. But we gotta dig down. We gotta dig down some more, and we gotta get this done. It means a lot to the state, but more importantly, it means a lot to our communities. It means a lot to the families of our communities. So we're going to need to dig down one more time and make this push. Thank you again for everything you do. And remember, there's strength in numbers, and in New Jersey, everybody counts.
Thank you so much. That was very interesting and inspiring. This is a treasure trove of toolkits and data resources. So anybody who's on the phone today or on the webinar who's thinking, I've started this, I need help, you've got resources here. You can reach out to census.gov/partnership. That link was up there. You can look at the page of resources that Eric was just describing. You can look at the materials and the links that Advocates for Children of New Jersey has, or New Jersey's Institute for Social Justice. So we have all kinds of materials there. And if you don't know where to start, just call your partnership person and they will help you. So with that, I want to do some Q&A, and I hope that Asmert is on the line. Is Asmert available? Well, while we're looking to see if you are, raise your hand and Catherine can link to you. But we did get a couple of questions here. So I'm going to start with the first question that came through, and I'll direct this to Lisa Moore. It says, how can we help keep confidentiality for people giving their information to MQA workers while keeping with social distancing? Won't other people hear their responses? Thank you. So Lisa, can you expound on that a little and explain how we are doing, working through COVID to help get the count? Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks, Barbara. And that is a concern because confidentiality is our #1 priority. We must keep everything confidential. So when we're working with MQAs, it's important that we're communicating with our partners so that we're in an appropriate location at the partner-led event, but then also making certain that we have opportunity to ask the constituent, would they like to step aside? Can we complete the census with them separately? And encourage that 6 feet apart social distancing, but then also to be able to enumerate them in a private manner. What we've also heard from one of our MQA locations, and this is something we can definitely explore, it just because of the, maybe necessarily not, I don't want to say yelling back and forth, but trying to have that conversation with that distance. We can print and provide the language guides, and the language guides would walk them through each question, and they can then say question 2, person 1 is, date of birth 10/24/16, and then kind of go down that path if that's more appropriate for them and they're comfortable with that. But we do ask for the partners if we can work with being in an area that we can either before they receive services or at a particular area that we can step aside and have some privacy to ensure that confidentiality is met. Our staff is trained on that, but it is something that we all need to make sure that we're keeping confidential.
Phenomenal. So yeah, we thought through this and we're working with all of you to make sure that we can maximize our outreach and do it safely. Safety is the key priority. So we did get a couple questions here. One of them was from a partner who says that they're part of the Elmwood Park Complete Count Committee and they want to know who their census contact person is. I could throw a name out because I think I know who your partnership specialist would be, but and it's probably Carolina Chia, but I think maybe the easiest way to route people to the right person is if you can send me an email, barbara.brown@2020census.gov, and I'll route you to your individual specialist. That's a simple, it's an easy name. So barbara.brown@2020census.gov, and just put in the header looking for my partnership specialist, or just put partnership specialist, and I'll connect you up with the person in your region. Okay, we've got another question here, and I'm going to throw this one to, okay, let me read it first. This is Tamika Hall from Children's Futures. Will this information be sent via email? I'd like to share during our staff outreach meeting. Yes, everything is going to be sent to you. Eric just described how we're putting all these materials together so you have it at your fingertips. So that is definitely there for you. Let me see if I have some other questions here. Okay, some of the feedback getting from the street is that people fill out a paper questionnaire would get a quicker response from the community they encounter out in the street. Let me read that again and just see if I have clarity on that. Feedback received from a partner from the street team is that people filling out a paper questionnaire would get a quicker response. Well, we're not using paper questionnaires, and for that, I'll also share Lisa Moore. Lisa just joined by video, and you can respond about this. Thanks.
Sure. So the households that have completed the census, they received an invitation in March to go online or over the phone, most of the country. Then when a household has not completed the census in their fourth mailing, they then did receive a paper questionnaire, and they can send that back so that they can be counted before the door knocking phase. There's no way, I'm not certain on the question where it's stating like how fast that their response is counted. As soon as a paper questionnaire were to enter the mail stream, it will then get routed to the response rate. So hopefully that's helpful with the paper questionnaires. But at local events in person, we are not using any paper questionnaires. It is just all digital, or you can call our census lines and complete it by phone as well.
I'd like to also follow up with the question in terms of what Tamika is saying with the paper questionnaire. The New Jersey CONT 2020 Coalition has created a sign-on for organizations to request the Census Bureau to send out a paper form with their final mailing. And we'll send you an email about how to participate in that. Right now, it's not, the last reminder has a postcard with the unique ID on it, but Peter Chen of ACNJ and like I said, the New Jersey Coalition, we are encouraging people, or organizations, I should say, to sign on to encourage one more reminder with a paper form, because we agree, as you do, that several people need to actually have it on paper to answer.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. That was very helpful. I appreciate that. So yes, I don't know if we have any other questions. I'm going to ask one. Is Asmeret there? I wanted her to have a chance to talk about what she's doing in Essex County. Okay, well, she might have jumped off this call onto another call, but I'll just say that if you were paying attention when Eric was going through his list, he talked about caravans, and Essex County is going to put a caravan together, kicking off Push Week on August 1st. So that's something that's going to be in the hardest to count, lowest response tracks down in Newark and Irvington, Orange and East Orange, and details on that will be coming. But if you're someone, partner that's in one of those areas, this would be an opportune time for you to leverage that momentum and do something on the ground, have an MQA event, a mobile questionnaire assistance event. Let us know, let Patricia know so that they can track your event. Let their partnership people know so that we can support you with materials, information, or our CRRs, who are consumer response representatives. They can come and they can help you and your volunteers engage people and complete the census in real time on their phones, or they can go on a computer. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're here to partner with you. We're here to make sure your events are successful, and we couldn't do it without you. We absolutely need all of your trusted voices. it's absolutely your connection to the community that is the straw that stirs the drink. So we appreciate your help. We appreciate you being on this call. I'm going to check one more time to see if there's another question. Oh, we do have another question.
There
So
are some
let
questions,
me, if Eric, if you could respond to this. The question is, looking at the response map, how many uncounted are in coastal towns where there are a lot of second homes, and how will those be counted? Great question.
Okay.
And
So,
Eric, if you could just join by video, and I'll pop off and they can see you.
I'm on video already.
Oh, okay.
They should be able to see me, but they can hear me. So, question about the coastal towns. Yes, we are well aware that there's a lot of second homes, particularly in Cape May County and Ocean County, and any of the coastal and in any of the coastal counties. The counties themselves are working toward informing the second homeowners to please respond and and get their households counted. It's a special case because technically based on Census Bureau guidelines, typically zero people are living there because they don't meet the guidelines of April 1st and living there most of the time. But we want people to fill those out anyway because it helps our response rate, and it provides us with a much more accurate picture of what's going on in the ground on our counties as funding is apportioned. The other thing that we've been trying to do is to ask the counties where the homeowners are from, which are typically north and west of the shore, to get the word out. So that's been an active process. The governor has mentioned it several times during as part of his census updates, which he's done any number of times during his COVID updates, as he emphasized the importance of filling out the census. So yes, we're very, very aware of that. It does not impact the population count tremendously, very much, but it does impact how the information and the accuracy of our information, and we want it and we need it, and we want our response rates higher too, because we have egos. So so that's the answer to that question. I saw another question about the billboard trucks too. There are schedules that are coming out for the billboard trucks. Jimmy Smalls asked that question. There's updated schedules that are about to be released. So hang in there. It'll be released to the counties. We're going to try and share that information out so they can release it out. We're working on ways to be able to make those billboard trucks accessible to activities. And in fact, the Essex County Parade this was one of the first ones up on the list as we start to switch over. So we made some early accommodations for that, and the billboard truck will be with them throughout the entire parade. So hang in there. More information coming on that piece of it, and very soon.
Hey everybody, this is actually Catherine from ACNJ. I want to just hop on because we actually do have a couple of extra questions, if everybody's in agreement, if you don't mind me reading out some of them for you, so that way you can answer. All right, so one of the questions we do have is, how can we keep confidentiality for people giving their information to MQA workers while keeping with social distancing? The concern is that won't other people be able to hear the responses that are being given?
Hi, Catherine. I think I did go over that one, so maybe a few down.
Okay, let's see. I do see that there's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think we're at the Rutgers question, Rutgers Camden, I believe.
Yep. So, okay, I see where you are. All right. So, will there be updates for after push week? So, this particular person is at Rutgers Camden, and they'll be trying to organize something virtual after the semester starts.
So I could start and say, yes, there's still time to be active in the community all of August, all of September, and we'll provide, at least from the Census Bureau, regular updates but I'll defer to our other partners today.
Yeah, the same holds true from the state's point of view. We will continue to be working. The census self-response period doesn't end officially as of now until October 31st. We're not pushing that date out very much because we want to make sure that people understand the urgency of getting the census filled out now. But the bottom line answer to that question is yes, absolutely. And in fact, in Camden City, there is a local complete count committee, and you may want to connect with them, or the local complete count committee for the county. We can connect you with them so that you can do some work with them if you'd like.
And it's also the advocacy point of view. We will be continuing until October 31st when the census year is over, when the census count is officially finished. So whatever it is that you want to do virtually when school starts, please let us know.
Thank you so much. And the next question is, based on New Jersey projected ending census response, are we at risk of losing congressional seats?
So the last time I looked at that particular information, it was before the pandemic, but at that time we were not in the top number of states to lose a congressional seat this time. Having said that, I caution us to not sit back. We need to make sure that we remain with the same amount of households counted and get an accurate and complete count so that we do not lose a congressional.
I would second that thought. We cannot be complacent. We don't want to take any chances.
Okay, and taking a look, it looks like we answered all the questions that are available for today. So does anybody have any ending comments that they would like to impart on everyone?
I saw one other question, and I'll read it out, although I think it's probably going to go to Eric. It's also from William Webb that talks about, the question was, can New Jersey's Department of Labor include census reminders in payments and notices going to unemployed or underemployed folks?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have been taught, we do have a liaison program to all of our departments. And in fact, motor vehicles, if anybody has gotten a notice for license renewal or registration renewal, will have seen a nice little insert to remind people to fill out the census with our NJ Census 2020 logo on it. We are working and have added the census and the need to fill out the census to several of the state websites, including the COVID website. I have to double check it was going up. But the idea is of adding it to the Department of Labor and Workforce Development's website and adding it into any paper communications that they have or email communications around unemployment is a really good one, and I will bring it up, and our intergovernmental specialist will ask, and we'll see what we're doing with that. Okay.
Hey, we do have another question that just came in, and that says, and I'll read it, IACO has created a special edition of La Guida del Inmigrante for the Hispanic community to highlight the importance of the census. This edition contains information on how to participate in the census and what benefits your participation brings to our communities. So another great example of communities reaching out to help bridge all of the barriers that we have there, among them language barriers. So I would encourage everyone to join together, because if you do have information, we can cross-fertilize, and that just helps reach more people more quickly, more efficiently. I don't see any other questions right now, so I think we'll just go around and do closing remarks. So we'll start with Eric.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody again for attending the webinar, to remind everybody that we are here to help and support you. You are not all by yourselves out there. And we don't want you to feel that way ever. And just thank you again for all of your work and for everything that you're doing. And also, I bring that message from the Secretary of State as well, just to be clear about that. She's well aware of the work, of the hard work that everybody is doing, and she's in the thick of it herself. So, and from Lauren Zyrek, who is my colleague in arms, so to speak, who's the census point person for the state, from the Department of State.
Wonderful. Patricia, closing comments?
Yes, on behalf of the Institute and of course the Census 2020 New Jersey Coalition, thank you so much for all that all of you do as community partners. We're here to serve, and we would love to continue to partner with you as we move into this new phase of not just the push week, but also going forward into the non-response follow-up. We have a lot of work to do, but we have a lot of willing hands, and I do believe that we will be able to reach that fair, accurate, and complete count.
Phenomenal. Okay, and from the Census Bureau, Lisa Moore.
Hi, yes, and again, a big thank you for everyone. We are ready to push. We're ready. You can see I'm in my office and I have my New Jersey CONT sign. So we're ready to push response rates up and here to assist as much as possible. So reach out to us. Let us know what you need. Printed materials, a couple things of swag items we do still have. So I told our staff we want everything out during push week. So let's get it out. Let's get out the count and really make a difference this week.
Thank you. And a final thank you to Advocates of Advocates for Children of New Jersey for hosting the Zoom webinar, for helping bring all of the panelists together, and for making this such a success. And again, we can't do it without you, so we thank you. And the meeting notes and materials will be sent to you all directly. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.